G'day and welcome to Hoy's Cab Confessions. I'm George Lee, and joined with me is my co-host Jack Perkins, and we're actually on the Perkins farm. G'day, Jack.
We are, George. This is where we put food on the plate of everyday Australians out here, mate. This is the business end right out here.
Thanks for letting me ride along for the day and come out and actually spend a bit of time in the cab.
No, it's going to be good, mate. We've there's a bit of rain coming, so we're sort of trying to get it off as quick as we can. But so far, it's all going really, really well. We're on barley here, so there's 4 paddocks of barley on our place, and it's yielding really well, which is always good.
Yep. And looking at just sort of ride along yesterday, so just in the nice comfort zone, just in the zone, just smashing hectares.
Yeah, and the hardest thing when you jumped in, I had to cut a fence line manually, much to your disappointment, but I just had to make sure there was no wrangled fence wire hanging out and there were any damage to our little 60 series behind us. But no, it was it's all trucking along pretty good.
There's no pressure there.
No, I hate cutting those fence lines with someone's in the same paddock, let alone in the cab, but that's okay. Yeah. Concentration was high.
Yep. And we're really lucky to be joined today as well with day 2 Longy student, Amity Smith. G'day, Amity.
G'day, how you going?
So day 2, when we spoke about bringing you on, I bet you weren't expecting to be out here with myself and Jack on your second day.
No, I certainly wasn't. It's good, really enjoying it so far.
And just for those listeners and viewers,
we've got the camera today.
Tell us a bit about yourself. Who you are, where you're from.
Okay, I'm from down near Ballarat, cropping, spuds, livestock, so a little bit of everything, and moved up to Sea Lake, looking into the digital team with Hoislers. So studying at Landowner, advanced diploma of agribusiness and diploma of agronomy there. So first year of that's done, second year next year, and we'll see where we go from there.
And how you finding it, all sort of learning a few new things?
Oh, it's really good to be studying and learning on property, on the farm, so it's great. You can just pop out to the paddock to do paddock inspections and everything like that. It's, a good balance of paddock and classroom learning.
That's good, and good to be able to now come out in the field and kind of put a bit of that in real life experience.
Absolutely, it's great to put all the knowledge into practice out in the real world. It's, really good.
And that's a big thing too. It's not just going to college and learning how to drive a tractor or some basic farm skills, but that business management and really having that well-rounded education there.
That agribusiness aspect, as well as agriculture, your basic farm skills, but also going business, accounting, everything like that on top is really rewarding.
And being coming on board with Hoyslers Digital, it's very much taking what you've learnt during the year, applying in the field. Big aim for me is to actually have you go back to Landowner and be at a much higher level.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
for sure. And long term, Jack, keen to sort of keep Amity on, keep her going for the next year. So hopefully we'll see a bit more of her while she's studying.
It's good. And so your background, you're not raw to farming per se.
No.
You sort of grew up around it, is that right?
Yeah. So I grew up on the family farm down near Ballarat.
How much land down there?
Oh, not too much. About 1,000, just over 1,000 acres. Good. So, big for the area, but small in comparison to these paddocks we're standing in today. That's for sure.
Beautiful volcanic soils.
Beautiful red volcanic soils. High productivity ground.
And for those that aren't watching, I've got to say I'm impressed with this Akubra hat you're running, to be honest.
Yeah.
It looks the part out here. I need to get maybe a Hoislers version of that.
Yeah, I do like my Akubras. So.
Good.
So I'll note that one down for Christmas.
Yeah, we'll have to word up the merchandise department to sort us out a couple of Akubras there, George.
I own the merchandise department, so
there we go. Saves an email.
Yeah. Let's on that note, let's actually roll into the day, Jack. I know you're keen to get into it with a bit of rain coming, so come along and join us, day in life of Jack Perkins, the farmer.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Righto.
Well, here we are, George. This is in the cab of the old 60 series.
It's takes me back a bit, Jack.
It's a bit These are good old machines, mate. This one Scotty bought a few years ago.
Yeah.
And when he kind of expanded up to 2 headers, and it's been really good. It came with a flex front on it, so they could get down and do lentils and bits and pieces. And then they end up putting the same front that we got on the 70 series on it.
Yep.
And it, other than having a few old displays and knobs and things, it goes pretty good.
Aircon's cranked up and nice and working.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things is the aircon.
There's the aircon in here compared to your cool suit in the race car?
It's much better in here, I can promise you, but it equally doesn't get as hot. Although, if it didn't have aircon, the cabin temperature probably would get very similar. Because I've seen 40 odd degrees out here on some days, and the supercar is 20 degrees above ambient, so it can get up to 50. And then with all the glass around here, without aircon, this would get bloody hot. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about that because the air conditioner does work well.
I've been in that situation where it's a very, very hot cab, Jack, and you do go through quite a bit of water.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep the temperatures down on the body.
It makes me realise you didn't bring a water with you too.
I did mention that I struggle without water, but that's all right. The Ingle's back in the ute, so there's at least a bit there.
Just to go back to what we're doing for a second,
yeah.
While we're worried about hydration, we're heading east and crossing a fence line that doesn't really need to be there. So the boys have been lobbying my old man to get rid of that fence line, and you can imagine how long that run would be east-west. I think it's about 4 kilometres of fence line on the southern boundary, so it's it'll be one hell of a big paddock if we get rid of that fence.
Do you want a bit of a hand, or do you want me to sort of come in and lobby Larry as well to rip that fence out? Or
it's one of those jobs where, first of all, I'd be happy if I wasn't here for it, and then if I was here for it, I'm hoping he'd have his Cat D4 dozer going by then, because it would potentially make quite light work of the fence and a few of those mongrel trees that are hanging around on there. So, I mean, it's crazy to think that when they first got out here, that all these paddocks were actually individually owned and had houses, and each farmer back in the early 1900s, this was their own little paddock, and now it's just a walk in the park with the current machinery. But back with the old horse and cart, this would have been heavy going.
The other thing too, Jack, about having the smaller paddocks and like small land holdings, the people back then very much were fencing to soil type and different conditions within the soil. So large machinery, when we start looking at the technology that we have, that really enables us to be a lot more efficient than working in smaller paddocks.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that, especially in this paddock, because we've had some areas here, especially in the last 2 years, where there's a bit of rain. We passed a little bit of a bog there on our left, and we were actually commenting yesterday that a bit of salt bush is starting to come in here too, which is not ideal for growing, especially when you see a few of the old mallee trees sort of starting to die off. But hopefully this particular soil type, which is very sandy, continues to be prosperous for the farmers around here.
Is that something you potentially look at for next year, getting a few more soil tests done around here, Jack?
Yeah, so Scotty, our chef farmer, who thankfully is letting us use his equipment again today, and he's definitely keen to continue trying to just maximise the growth. So they work with obviously agronomists and bits and pieces, and I think the plan was to go back on barley next year here, and I assume part of that process will be obviously getting some soil testing done.
Yep.
And Also, just getting on top of the spraying and prep work, there's a bit of ryegrass coming through various sections here in this particular paddock, so preparation is probably going to involve a little bit of burning as well. Get rid of some of that weed and ryegrass, and on top of a bit of spraying and soil testing, sort of try and hit the ground running next year, and be mindful, obviously, with the lack of rainfall out here, but it's probably one rain away from being an absolute boomer this year, which is obviously the one thing no one can control.
No, and that's what we've got to work towards, and just every year's different, like we know. So, just looking at some of your fence lines too.
More of a fire truck than the ladder,
That's all right.
Back the UHF off a fraction.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least not only can people see that we're in the cab, but can hear it too. Looking at some of the fence lines, Jack, and we've spoken a little bit about verge in the past, but that's something that I really think would benefit you and Scotty and Larry into the future, and especially when you talk about doing those, doing the fence line pass yesterday. I think that's definitely going to be benefits to you.
Yeah, I must admit, I've learned a lot about the fence line stuff from you, and it's normally something that once you've done a full day and you've got to drive around a fence line, as I'm kicking the machine into gear here now, we've got to the last bit of barley on the southern edge here. The fence line stuff is sort of always, when you're doing it manually, it's actually something that I used to enjoy doing, because it kind of, after doing days of runs and runs and runs, it can be nice to do a little bit of driving and off the auto steer, but equally I can see how it can save you a bit of time and a bit of money as well by being able to just set the auto steer up and
just let it do its thing.
I've just realised I haven't turned my auto steer on as I'm trying to pick a line. Here we go.
It's always sort of that opening run for the day.
Yeah, it's whenever there's someone in the cab that...
The distraction?
The distraction. Just leaving a little bit of a mohawk, as I call it. Try and get that. Yep. I don't have to come back and get it.
Yeah.
As I'm trying to start a run. Here we go. Auto steer on, mate. Away we go.
Away we go. Well, just think about that fence line that you talk about there. If we map this paddock as one big one, then we can actually run through the numbers with Verge and actually put some figures to Larry to say, well, this is what the efficiency is going to be by not having that fence line.
Yeah, and certainly I'm just making a few rookie mistakes here, George.
Yep.
That's all right. Get that going in there and we'll be laughing. Got a bit of a blockage going on here.
Got to love Joy with his editing.
We'll get him sorted here.
Yep.
I'll have to get out and clean this out. Right, nothing like a few rookie mistakes to get me going again. See how we go picking up this.
That's better.
There we go. Now we're talking. Right, we're back.
We're back. So that one kind of feels like me trying to heel and toe sort of, and having to sit beside me and I'll be off in the corner.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, we're
back.
We're going now, and that's all that matters.
Yep. So look, now we're going to try and work out where we
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Pick something up.
Okay.
All right. Get the screens going.
Yep.
So we were talking about field ag.
We're talking
field view. No, we weren't. We were talking about Verge ag. Sorry.
We're talking Verge.
I was mixing me words.
That's why you got that much going on here, Jack.
Yeah. So the fence line on the auto steer would be bloody good.
Yeah. And like what we're saying about being able to map this whole paddock and then look at what the time difference is between doing those headlands to just going straight through. So I'm finding more and more amazing, Jack, that with the different platforms and technologies that are coming through, that we can set farms up and actually have analytics there that gives us real tangible numbers.
Yeah, now, I guess the other thing, like a lot of people, especially down Sea Lake area and other farmers around the world, like your fence lines are traditionally quite straight. So to paint a picture here where we are, we're neighbouring on the south side to the Big Desert National Park. So the fence line isn't very straight at all. So it's, you know, it reminds me of a racetrack. It's got bloody S's and chicanes and bits and pieces. So yeah, that's kind of why it becomes a lot different. And not all fence lines are kind of straight 90 degrees, are they? Like,
well, Mother Nature doesn't work in like 2 centimetres.
No.
It'd be nice if she did, but it's it really is a massive benefit, Jack, to take that stress from fence lines. And you say they're getting tangled up with wire yesterday. Even on the sprayer, like you think about sort of knocking a fence line nozzle and what that can do during the day.
See this bit of root damage?
Yeah.
So to paint the picture, yeah, you're just coming across the barley here, and because we are quite close to the national park, obviously this is where roos and emus can get in, and then that's why the fence is important, obviously.
Yeah.
And we've got straight fence wire because we put a new fence in, and we've spent about a 10-year clean up on the old fence. But before we put the new fence in, you could see the damage on the crop here. Generally, you wouldn't see it until you got in the cab, but it would just be laying on the ground, and that's why, you know, it costs farmers a lot of money not having a decent fence.
And the harvestability side of things, just having down crop, lost yield, you're right. Like it's just, for those people that don't know sort of much about the wildlife in Australia, it can definitely impact the bottom dollar for the growers.
Oh, and the emus hunt in bloody herds of 15 or 20 of them, and they just run across the paddock and just flatten the crop on the way through. So yeah, that's why the fence is important, and then obviously farmers have got to work around them. So we've become accustomed to that, but they're certainly looking forward to getting those boundaries done properly and running the auto steer.
Yeah. Great thing that we've got Amon come on board, and away we go, Jack. It's definitely building a team. It's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, it's an expanding team. It's good, and it's good to get them out here and see what we do. Like, I mean, I'm involved at a small level, you know, machine operator in harvest, a bit of a landowner, but it's a sort of, for people to come out here and see what it's all about. It's hard to paint a picture for a podcast, you know.
You're right on that. And
just to paint that picture, we're doing 3.8 kilometres an hour, and we instantly yield in close to 3 tonne per hectare. So it's a good crop. The paddock average is 2,600 kilos per hectare, but the good stuff's constantly in the 3 tonnes. So that's to paint the picture, mate. The barley's feeding in the machine quite well. Our tank's filling up with grain. Happy days.
Nice sample you got there too, Jack.
Yeah, I think it's been going malting, but the grade between malting and feed sometimes as well. I think it's bar 1 or something like that.
Yep.
I haven't been heavily involved with
the grain marketing side of things.
No, and because I've been up and back with racing commitments and things, I'm just trying to help out where I can. So I was in the chaser there at one stage, and now in the header, and then before we know it, I got to nick off and go car racing again. But it's very therapeutic out here at the moment.
So should we actually say to supercars, if they could postpone the last race of the season to just coincide with the finish of the Mallee harvest, it'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, the problem is that the date always changes, doesn't it?
It does,
but it is good. You know, normally first week or second week of Christmas, of December, heading into Christmas is normally all finished. But if you get a bit of rain, like forecast, it can, delay you a few days or even a week. So, last year with the extra rain that we had, I think they finished in January, which is very strange.
You're not wrong about that, and that even from a dealership point of view, that really does put a lot of stress and strain on the dealership, and just how much that rolls from finishing in January, rolling into summer, spraying. So a lot of people might not get necessarily that traditional break over Christmas that we usually get. But this year, I think we're all looking forward to Christmas and more towards a traditional finish to harvest.
Well, that's what talking to Scotty Landowner, our share farm yesterday. He's already getting all the seeds and sprays and everything ready for next year, and cutting decent sized checks, $200,000 here, there, and everywhere. Just when you think you're on top of it and you're reaping the rewards, you've sort of got to forward think straight away. And then you got a little bit of time to prep the paddocks before next year, and finishing that bit later makes a big difference. But we're running 15-inch spacing on the rows here.
Yep.
And then next year they'll be able to set that up so that the crop sits in between the rows.
Get sowing and makes it nice.
And fish for a bit of moisture that wasn't used so much this year. Because I think the average rainfall out here is around about 220, 260 mil a year. So it's bugger all rain. So any bit of moisture you can get, it's going to make a big difference. And that's, like I said, it was just one rain away from being a boomer there this year. Just didn't quite happen in that August, September.
Where you look at, there was that late rain first week of October that happened over the Elmore field days. Basically, it was a washout at Elmore, Jack, which was the week before Bathurst for you.
Yep.
And that rain sort of travelled or got sort of around that Sea Lake area. Definitely finished them off a lot well and truly. And talking to Alf area last week, he's definitely noticed sort of the differences there, and also Jared Kemp. So it was really good to get up and have a chat with Kempy and follow up from the crop tour. So
yeah, and that a lot of those guys around there had canola, and they look like, especially come up pretty early. You'll notice around here there hasn't been much canola, but I think Scotty on some of his other paddocks is thinking about having a crack at some canola next year. So hopefully the weather gods are kind.
Hopefully we can snag another one, but we'll just see what the forecast does. Like they spoke about El Nino this year, and lo and behold, we're sitting here with still a fairly handy crop. So
might check in on the
we'll just check in with the boys.
We get nearly 3/4 full of grain here, so I've seen nearly 4 tonne there, which is bloody good going. And
So do we say that area? Do we put that down to Scotty or put it down to Larry?
Which bit?
The high yielding areas. Is that Scotty's work or is that Larry's work?
Nah, definitely a combination of Scotty and the weather gods. We don't necessarily get too involved in preparing the paddocks.
Yep.
We try and maintain the fence line and pick up some rocks and things and just do basic stuff. We like to try and do a bit more than just be, like you say, Collins Street farmers, but I might just dial him up.
Yep.
You on channel there, Rocket?
Oh, yeah.
We're going good here, nearly 4 tonne.
Love the numbers, just on the way over.
Yeah, cool. I'm heading back west at the minute. Should get to the other end, if not close.
That's right.
It's always good to rev up, Scotty, about what we might be able to buy.
I was saying, just when you're saying about ordering chemical and ferg and seed for next year, there's no new buggies coming from the States.
No, we always joke about that. Whenever you see 4.5 tonne right here, and normally we jump on the Gymco website, pretend to show some interest in a $700,000 buggy, but
That's
at $300 a tonne, we're still not quite there.
Well, the thing about buggies and off road, and it's sort of off topic of Cat Confessions, but we kind of feel like, well, it's our podcast, and we'll talk about what we want to talk about.
Yeah, we can be loose as we want.
bit like our old mate Killman Sam. So hopefully, well, actually, he did reach out to us the other day. So hopefully, we'll be able to go and have a good chat with those guys. But just looking at where off-road racing used to be, that it's probably an inexpensive motorsport. Where now it's it's quite expensive.
I find it very frustrating to watch, because when I look back at my grandpa in 1950s, he used to do these Red X and Mobil Gas around Australia trials, and that was just in a Volkswagen Beetle, and used to fang around Australia, and when you did the job, doing a lap of Australia used to be quite a big feat. And then my dad did a similar thing in the 70s and 80s in the wind safaris, but now it looks like you just go and buy the biggest, most powerful engine, the biggest shock absorbers, and you just kind of hold the throttle flat and just go until the thing breaks. So it just doesn't seem to sort of whet my appetite, There's not much skill in that. There's plenty of money, and that's about it.
I think about like with my dad, he bought I think it was like 1968 HK Monaro with a 186 in it, and tore it to bits, turned it into a buggy. So when I feel like sort of just poking Dad a little bit, I go, geez, I wish you never stuffed around that Monaro. Just imagine how much that would be worth. But he does come back and say, well, it was full of rust, so probably still wouldn't be here anyway. But he tried. Well, he tried to get it going, but put it in perspective, $700,000 US buggy to a $150 HK Monaro in 1980 or whenever Dad had that. But
there's some good spots around here, like the old Mallee Rally, and that used to be around here, and this is where plenty of people, like my old man, that cut their teeth hanging around these dirt roads. And it's good motorbike riding out here in the desert.
Spent a fair bit of time sort of as a kid hanging around sort of the desert, Jack.
Yep. We used to come up here quite a lot, Dad and I, and go camping just out here in Mountain Pine. Which is like a nice clearing full of pine trees. A lot of the locals still come out there camping, and a lot of people from various walks of life. It's a part of the four-wheel drive track through the desert, and you can just sort of see on the other side of that fence lines where the fire track runs. And you can't quite see from where we are now, to be fair, but quite often you get a lot of four-wheel drive people walking through here. You look at this, change the subject, look at this roo damage. It's just bits and pieces, unfortunately. It's not laying flat, but pick up most of it. You can see behind the cone, there's not a lot left behind.
Not too many heads on the ground. So.
And it's 4,600, nearly 5 tonne there, so bloody thick crop. And that's probably why the roos have been in there feasting away.
They know where to dine out.
About 4,800. You there, Rocket?
Yeah, I'm here.
We're nearly going 5 tonne here.
It's got a little bit of turn as it leads up to the scrub.
A bit of roo damage too, eh?
Yeah, that landlord needs to do a bit more work.
We'll get on the landlord.
I have to say, Jack, everyone takes themselves pretty serious out here.
Well, it's a good combination of having a good time, but it actually reminds me a lot of car racing, to be fair, because you've got to remember it is a bit of fun, but it's also yours and others' livelihood. So whilst we have a bit of fun on the radio and whatnot, the job we do is still pretty serious. And, whilst we're not invested as highly as Scotty and some of the other land owners and farmers and growers around here, it is their livelihood. So, it's I've got to make sure I'm doing a good job as an operator, and I know Scotty does a ripper job as a farmer. You don't want to be the weak link, mate.
No, it's. I I think about sort of one of your, actually went back to one of your older videos where you were talking about having the 5-stud pattern to the single wheel nut.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that coming back to again costs, also a safety point of view where Larry had the wheel come loose on him in the Victor Johnson Mustang in 85.
Yeah.
And yeah, very much the weak link. If you're sitting here doing a Jim's mowing job and throwing all the profit out the back of the header, it's not really, it's pretty counterproductive.
No, and that's where I'd like to learn a bit more about making sure I've done all the machine settings right. And typically when I come in halfway through, it's all sort of set up. But you know, we used to put those trays on the ground and measure how you're spreading the chaff and make sure we are using the efficiencies to our advantage. And
that's where you start looking at your bushel plus grain trays to be able to go along and drop that. One of the great things too about bushel plus is having that fan, having the fan. So being able to put all the chaff and grain out the back into that, and then actually simply measure what your grain loss is compared to putting out the old square meter or square, and then sort of count the seeds in there. So that's definitely one thing too. Looking at the power shutdown, so while we're going along, come back on the handle, shut the machine down, and then open everything up and have a look at how the crop's feeding across the machine.
The other part of that too is the self-sown stuff the following year. If you are leaving the seeds behind, isn't it?
Well, yeah, trying to deal with that, especially if you're going with a cereal on cereal. So if you're going with a wheat and a barley, and you've got self-sown wheat in there, well, that just adds more.
Just kills your sample.
Yeah, and more challenges to an already challenging game. It's really one of those things, Jack, that I've seen definitely over the last 10 or more years. Is
that a slab?
Yeah, I'm going to say it was a slab. So I'll have a shout out to Kate Wilson. So thanks, Kate, for costing you a slab on the podcast. Looking at where it used to be traditionally like a wheat rotation, then a legume, where now it's very much a lot of guys are that cereal legume rotation. Al Ferrier talks about the different lentil varieties that are out there, and just what that's done to the mallee in the last 10 years.
And I think it's something I'd like to learn, especially if I've got to make more of a living out of this farming thing. I need to learn a bit more about it. But I know Scotty typically runs on a sort of a 4 or 5 year rotation. Yeah. So barley on barley, and then potentially into like lupins.
Yep. So going into that legume.
Yep. And then either back to barley, or you can give wheat a crack.
Yep.
And it's also about the nitrogen levels.
Yep.
I've learned a little bit from Scotty about that, but I don't fully know the best case, but I know that it makes a big difference.
Well, as we go along with the podcast, Jack, we'll turn you from farmer, landowner to race car to engineer to media personality to agronomist.
I might end up a bloody longie here with the girls, learning and get some proper qualifications.
Learning how to smash hectares.
Yeah.
Well, not that you can't already, but just fine tuning things.
Oh, I always say, man, this is the good life. If I could kind of make this a full-time gig, I'd be very happy.
Well, you don't have a way of spot in Gisborne.
Yeah, no, it's good there, but I can't grow sort of 6 or 7 acres of barley. It'd be barely worth the trip getting ahead of there. Maybe for tax purposes.
Yeah, we don't need the ATO listing. No, you're right. It is a enjoyable life out here, and it's something that I feel that 10 years ago, or actually I should say 20 years ago, during the millennium drought like that, we lost a lot of young people from the areas. Went off and had other careers, and where ag wasn't on the cards for where we should go as a career. Where compared to now, you don't necessarily need to be on a header or on the farm to have a great career in ag. You can just about be anywhere.
Yeah, it's hard because most of the people that are around here are kind of born into it.
Mm.
And then if you don't want to stay, you want to go to the big smoke. A lot of people just disappear from the industry because they don't take over the family farm.
And that's where people get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's great that Larry took over the farm from his uncle, from your great uncle, was it?
Yeah, it was. So my great grandfather was born out here, and then his son, which is Dad's uncle, ended up with the property, and then Dad bought it off him, and then I'm into the 4th generation, and I had my daughter up here the other day, which is the 5th generation. So it is cool. Like I said, if I could make a living out of it, I would, but it's hard. You've got to travel a lot with car racing and everything else we've got going on. So
that'd be fair to say that, like with Larry and his career, it sort of that took you away from the farm and chasing his dreams, and he's in a spot now that he's been able to come home
back
and
full circle.
Yeah, I feel a bit. Well, not that I was born in Sea Lake, but with Mum leaving Sea Lake as a teenager, and a couple of years ago me turning up at Hoys, it feels like I've kind of come a bit full circle too.
Yeah.
And it's amazing where life can take it.
It is, isn't it? And I mean, when Dad first got the land, we were share farming with another neighbour, and then everyone decided to stop share farming for a bit, and we sort of left the land, and there was a bit of a joke we maybe were going to go organic, and then it became a bit of a fire danger, to be honest, and that's why we got involved with Scotty, because he's a good young fellow. He's only a couple of years older than us, and he wanted to expand his land without necessarily kind of having to buy anything. And we thought it took a bit to clean up. Scotty and his uncle Robert, who's sadly not with us anymore, they spent a lot of time out here on the chopper chain kind of cleaning up what was just weeds and paddy melons and crap.
Are there any photos, Jack, of like what it was like? Or?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Scotty about this the other day, because I did come across a video of them with the chopper chain and then burning up some of the stuff here, and I think we let it go for maybe 5 or 6 years, so it was pretty tricky even just to ride a motorbike across there. And for those of you wondering what that beep is, it's the grain tank's full on the old 60 series, so we're just about to got Scotty's pulled up here in the chaser bin. We're going to empty on the run.
So I was actually thinking about some of the social media videos you see on Instagram or Facebook, Jack, and a bit of Formula One sort of box with the chaser in.
I'd love to know actually what the capacity of the grain tank is of the 60 series, but basically when the grain tank's full here, we dump it into the 30-ton chaser bin trailer, and that normally takes sort of 4 tank loads. So it's obviously going to be about 8 ton in the back of the header, sorry. And then this is another great efficient part of harvesting. So for those of you that don't understand, like we're pulling the grain through off the farm off the paddock into a tank in the back. And now I'm transferring it through a big auger into a big trailer, and when we're still doing 2.7 kilometres an hour, so we don't even have to stop, and just means the machine keeps running. And then once this trailer's full, Scotty takes it over to a field bin, and from the field bin it goes on the trucks and then gets taken to Murrayville or Pinaroo and sold. And if this barley's good quality, it might even end up in your Carlton draft beer, Jordan.
Maybe. It very well could be. I'm just thinking about the efficiencies that we pick up by having a chaser bin and being able to unload on the go. And the first year of the S Series was 2012, and that first harvest, I did spend a lot of time going over the analytics in JD Linkjack, and what I found was you'd look at people that were stopping and filling their field bins, where harvest time was usually around maybe 50 to 60%. But then if you've actually got a chaser bin, you're up into the 80s, 85%. So you're looking at somewhat of maybe that 20-25% increase in efficiencies by having that, being able to unload on the go.
Yeah, and I think I'd love to have been there the first time someone said, let's have a crack at unloading on the go.
Yeah, that would have been a while ago.
So we're on the east, we're heading east-west, and when we're on auto steer, basically the machine sets the course and doesn't move. So when you bring the chaser bin in, you just don't have to do anything from the driver's seat of the header. But I'd be interested to know if they ever emptied on the run prior to having auto steer.
Yeah, they would have.
It would have kept you guessing.
Actually, would actually love to hear from anyone that actually was unloading in a chaser bin before using auto steer. If there's anyone out there, jump on the socials, get to either Hoisler's Jord on Instagram or Jack Perkins on Instagram for you, JP.
Yep, Jack _ I think it is Jack _ Perkins, and send us through a photo of any crash damage of the, because there's been some near misses. Once the auto steer, and this could be a cap conversion, well, I might have spoken about this once before, but the auto steer tripped off and we didn't know, and the comb got wedged between the trailer and the tractor. Thankfully, it didn't actually make contact, but it's a bit of an unnerving experience, to be honest. Thankfully, we could talk about it like a near miss.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, and for those that are listening and looking at what the fence or the way that things are at the moment, there's no, if you're going to hand steer to chase, you don't have that row to use as a guide when it is straight. That's definitely one thing that I see, Jack. There's plenty of squiggles and the like. So
it's hard, especially against the fence line here. Yeah. Normally, that's when I got taught. When I first got taught the chaser bin, I thought it was the most daunting thing ever, and I thought there's no way I'll be able to drive the header. The chaser bin, if you can just pick a line that is straight, it's not too bad. But Scotty does it because it kind of enables him to manage the farm as well.
You touched on a great point there, and I see it time and time again that it's like the guy who's running the show ends up being the gopher, or he's in the truck or in the chaser bin, because it does give you that visual to manage what's happening in the operation. Probably similar to that team management and race team, being able to keep an overview on what the engineers are doing, what the drivers are doing, what the mechanics are doing.
Yeah, and in this case, it's also like, you're starting a new paddock and you might be on a new variety, then you've got to go and get a proper sample and work out where your point of sale is going to be, and it ends up being a lot of running around. But you want to also keep the machines going. So you can never have too many people. You were joking before when you guys rocked up that you'll get a job if you hang around too long, because there's always something to do.
100%.
And Scotty does a ripper job. I'm going to assume a lot of our neighbours do too, but I've only worked with Scotty, and it seems to work well for us.
You can only sort of judge what you work with, Jack. But
this is where the crop's not that good, George. We're on a bit of a sand hill as it runs up to the scrub line. We're back to 1200 here, 1200 tonnes per hectare, and you can just see it. It just, obviously the moisture, anything, it just runs off back to where we were, which is probably why that crop down the slope was better. But these these can start to blow out pretty bad too, these sand hills.
Well, for those that don't know the Mallee, it's a big thing, making sure that you've got good a good spread and good residue from the machine to prevent sand hills from blowing. It was before our time, Jack. I think it was 82 or 83 where the Mallee come to Melbourne, and the big dust storm sort of blew down Collins Street. And just looking at the way that people farm today, very much moisture retention's a big thing compared to years ago. That would have been, even with your grandfather and great grandfather, it would have been just working up country and then she blows.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen how it was all working back in the day with the old sunshine harvester, and before that with the horses and whatnot.
I reckon we're sweating a bit harder right about now.
Oh yeah.
And I reckon I'd have a job probably sewing up bloody wheat bags.
Yeah. It's funny, sort of changing the subject a little bit, because you're riding in the passenger seat. Now in the supercar we do passenger rides, and it's quite a thrill because you do.
I'm actually hanging on the edge of my seat right about now, Jack.
Yeah, literally. But in the supercar we do these hot laps, and it's a proper game time experience. Do you reckon header rides would warrant the same sort of attention? Do you think we could raffle them off for charity?
Well, I'd actually like to get some feedback from the actual listeners out there and go, is that something you'd actually like to do? Is
come for a ride
come for a ride with Jack, or even spend a little bit of time with you on the farm?
Yeah,
that could be something. We'll see what type of feedback we get from the listeners. Because it's more than your mum and my mum and Jody's mum and that one person from Cambodia listening now.
Well, we're over 1,000 downloads, which we should be celebrating a bit more, because it's a ripper effort. Thanks to you guys for having me along and Hoislers.
And we really appreciate. Well, I'm very appreciative to have you along for the ride too, Jack. It's something that we spoke about, and I'm glad that we can bring some entertainment to people in cabs, because we both know what it's like to be in this glass cab at times. And welcome back to the studio. This episode's a bit of a longer one, so this is the end of part A of a two-part series. So next week we'll have Amity Smith having a chat with Jack in the cab, so look out for that one. Amity's a ripper, and it should be a good yarn there. So that being said, we are really thrilled to announce that we have hit 1,000 downloads. To the listeners out there that come back week on week, thank you very much, and for the new ones that come on board, welcome. To hit 1,000 downloads we think that's quite a great milestone to reach so early on in this piece or this podcast, because it hasn't been going that long. So thank you. And to celebrate, we want to give away a Cab Confessions work shirt. So give us your best yarn, drop us a line on the Hoislers Facebook page or Instagram. If you do it via video, there'll be some extra points. So at the end of the day, this is just to be able to have a bit of fun and a laugh along the way. So don't take yourself too serious. We will draw this in future episodes, so look out for that. Again, thank you very, very much to the listeners out there of Hoislers Cab Confessions from the team, and we'll catch you on the next one.